Hello, this is the second recording to show how we use the default template. This is, as I say, it's a typical semi-detached house with those particularly items that we use on a regular basis. Now, a lot of this stuff won't be needed and we can delete it as and when we want to, but the process that we go through is utilising the existing features and working with them. Right, let's get started. What we're going to do with this one is that we're going to use this semi-detached property and we're actually going to make it into a detached property because that is what the actual item is that we're working with. So that is an external wall. So we'll click on that. That's party wall. We're going to change that into an external wall by pressing Ctrl Alt, and that transfers the parameters of that wall to that wall. So now we've got two outside walls as opposed to that being a party wall. Now the back of this property doesn't have a bay, and what I'm going to do is alt click on that. That is the ground level outside. I've alt clicked on it to take it to the cursor as a default, and I'm going to delete that now, and so that I can get at it later on, I'm just going to put that in that corner. So for later on we'll be able to use that to get back and put the ground on the outside. Now if we highlight that, we do that by pressing the shift key and stroking across it. We can delete that. We can delete that part of the wall, and we can select that by pressing shift and the mouse button. Select that one as well by pressing the shift button and the mouse button, and by pressing F4 we can join up the corner. Now in this case, that being a bifold door, we're not going to need that, but just in case we do, we can shift click the whole wall, which will contain the door, and if we press Ctrl and Shift and pull it to one side, if you see the plus, as we're dragging it to one side, the plus means that we're actually taking a copy with it. So let's put that there. Oops. Ctrl Z, it's obviously done the wrong thing. So Ctrl D is drag it over, but we want a copy of it, so we press the Control key, and there we've placed a copy of that in that position there. Now I can go in there, shift click on the door, press the delete key, and that bifold door is gone. Now the structure that we're going to put in here now basically it is a detached property, and currently has got a big extension on the back anyway. So what we're going to do is build the internal part of it just as it is at the moment. So on my survey notes, which of course you can't see, the depth of the first room is 2450. So holding against the edge of that wall with the mouse, you see the Mercedes cursor. First I would go down here and select the hotspot, and then go into the top there, Mercedes cursor against there, and I'm going to say press the Y key. I'm going to put in the figure of 2450, and I'm going to press minus because it's going down the drawing, and then I'm going to press the mouse button, and that has put my hotspot at 2450 down there. Now then, what I can do is I can utilise the existing walls on the drawing, so I highlight that one by pressing shift and mouse button and Control D, and I pick it up by that edge and drag it to there. Okay. Now the width of this first room, which is the kitchen, is 3840. So from that side pressing X this time because we're going across the drawing, 3840 plus, because it's going across in that direction, and again shift click on that, Control D, and drag it over by that side of the wall. So that has actually made the room, and we've already got some doors in the walls which will be handy. Now then, what we need to do is make this room to the side of the kitchen by again using the hotspot. So put the Mercedes on the edge of that wall, and we press X, and this dimension is 2320. So it's X 2320 plus, enter. So X 2320 plus, enter. There we are. So what we need to do now is shift click on the edge of that wall and Control D to drag it over to that point. Now a lot of these things which are in that wall are not going to be needed later, but you'll see that we can utilise them as the drawing goes on. So shift click on that, shift click on that, and press F4. Right, what we'll do is we'll move these room names over to the right side. So that is the kitchen, and we shift click on that, Control D again, and that is the dining room. Now this door here, which has got a GL next to it, is telling me that that is a glazed door. Now we don't want that to be glazed because it isn't in the building, so we Alt click on that, and I'm going to drag a door up, Control D, so drag it up, Control D, drag, and I want a copy, so I press the Control button and it drops a copy. Right, now remembering that I Alt clicked on this, so we've got the parameters of that, and we can transfer them to this door by pressing Control Alt. Now when you see that little syringe, that is injecting the settings into there. Now on my survey notes it's telling me that that door is 750 wide and it's 690 from the corner of the room. So I've highlighted the door, and the door is 750. Right, now if you look, 760 it says here, that's what that door is, but it's telling me that it's 760 as the door itself, sorry, as the door and the frame. Now the frame on each side of the door is 50, so to get the proper size of this we have to add 100 to it. So we want the door to be 750 plus 100 to be 850. See, it's grown. Now we're going to Control D from this corner, from there, and we're going to say in the Y direction, if you remember the survey note said it's 690 plus. So that's positioned the door in the right position. Now I'm going to move this one, I'm going to Alt click on it, and then I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to place that there. So I've got a copy of that door somewhere. That's the glazed door that we might use if we need to. Okay, now then, we need to form an opening in this wall here. So we use the door tool and we Alt click on the door, and we are going to place a door, and my survey notes are telling me that it's 670 from that corner. So in the corner, X 670 plus, because it's in that direction, and that's where the door is. Now we place the door any way you like at this point. Now then, select the door, and if you click on one edge of it, you'll see we've got this palette comes up. At the very end one is the move node, so it's going to move that edge further away, so it's going to stretch the door. And what we need is this door to be 2360, so it's going to be 2360, so X 2360 in the plus direction, there. Right. When I made this room, I read my survey notes wrong. Probably should have put an extra note on my surveys, but there we are. Never mind, it doesn't matter, we can update it as we go along. So this is still a door at the moment. Now what we want to do is to make it into an opening. And if you look across here where my cursor is, if we click that button, it actually gets rid of the door, but leaves it as an opening. Now the actual dimension that I took from this point should really have been from the edge of the door. So I've shift clicked that and I'm control D in it to there. And then I'm going to go to control D, X, and if you remember it was 2320, so it's X 2320 plus enter. I have no idea what happened there, but it obviously didn't work, so let's try it again. So it's selected, control D, and we're going to control D from that edge, so X 2320 plus enter. Right, so we're going to connect that to that. So select them both and press F4. Okay, there we are. Now that clear wall is a boundary wall. It's an outside wall. So control shift that, shift click that, and control D. We'll just put it down there. Again, if we could pick up the end of this is a fence, so control D, move that to the outside of the building. Right, I'm just reading some survey notes. Right, now that's the building that was there before they had the previous extension on it. So I'll just highlight that and get rid of that because I don't need it. I'll select the existing stairs that are on the default and I'll move them down. Just get rid of that copy and shift click on that wall. And there's another thing that we can do now. So long as we've actually got the wall tool highlighted, right? We've selected that wall, and then we can control click on that wall, and it takes it right across to it. Again, we don't need that, so we'll get rid of it. And we don't need that, but we might need the walls in it, so we'll move that over there. Okay. So this one, highlighted it, and as I say, I've got the wall tool selected there. So if we do control, see what it's done there? It's actually split it, because the wall was passing through that wall. Instead of taking it to it, it splits it at the point, which means that we can actually move that bit of wall away and use it later if we need to. I know from my survey notes that there's another door to go in here, so I'm going to use this door, which you remember is 850 wide. So if I'll click on it and then just put it in there, and it's actually opening into the room in that direction. Okay. Right, we're going to use the hotspot again. So hotspot on the edge of there. My survey notes are telling me that this other wall on the outside is 260 from the edge of that wall opening. So X 260 in the minus direction, press enter. So it's put the hotspot there. Now I want to take this wall parameter, so I'll click on that and I'll start from there. You see it's actually, the wall is drawn by using its reference line, and the reference line in our case is the internal wall, the internal side of the wall. So it's going in that direction, but we need the wall to be on the other side. So very simply we can press C and it jumps to the other side. You see it automatically sticks to an automatic 90 degrees. So we click on that, and that's that wall in position. Now again, from my survey notes, I know that isn't an external wall in this case, but I'm going to use that, and I'm going to make a copy of it from that position across to the other side of the room, and the other side of the room is 2960. So X 2960 plus equals, right, and like we say, it's shift clicked, we want to take this wall to the inside face of that, so reference lines should really join up with reference lines, so that's joined up. Now the depth of this room from my survey notes is 3650, and again we make sure we've got that wall on the cursor, and we start from that corner, and we're going to say in the Y direction, so Y 3650, 3650, up the drawing is plus, click enter. Now that is starting the wall from there, but like we had it before, it's on the wrong side of the reference line. So if we press C again, it moves to the centre and then to the outside. And as you can see, it actually sticks itself, look at that, to the 90 degree point. Right, so we've got some walls here now, so if we go shift onto that, and press F4. I'm going to convert this wall into an internal wall now, because that's what it should be. So I'm going to pick up the parameters of that by pressing Alt and mouse, and I'll highlight that and press Control and Alt, and it's turned that wall into that wall. Now then, the other outside wall from this one here, from my survey notes, is 1990. So I want the parameters of that, so I alt click on it, place the cursor on the side of that wall, press X, because I'm going in the X direction, 1990, 1990, in the minus direction, enter. As you can see, depending which way you go, the reference line will be up or down. So we want it to be on the inside of the wall, so if we press that there, and then we can, because the tool is automatically highlighted because we've used it, and we can connect that to the inside of that by pressing Control, right, and highlight that and highlight that, both shift clicking on both of them, and press F4 and it joins them up. Now shift click on that, put your cursor against that wall and press mouse, and that's it. So we've put the existing building on the back. Now I know from being there that this is not quite right. So 2320. 364. Right. 36. I've read the wrong dimension here. So the dimension should be 3640. So from there, X is 3640 plus enter. That's more like it. So we can shift click on that, Control D, and move that edge. You keep your finger on the shift key, it will keep running parallel, but I want that edge to be on the hotspot there. Okay. I like before, using that icon, which is your wall tool. If we actually control click on a wall which is sticking out from somewhere, it will actually cut it back to that point. Control Z, right, that brings it back again. So highlight it. We don't need to highlight it. You basically just click on it. You've got your tool, wall tool in there, and just control click on that. That's just tidied that up. Right. Again, the back wall of this dining room has got double doors. So if I pick up the parameter of that and just place it in there, that's the door fitted. If I highlight both of those, and up here you can see you can align them. I want to align them to the top. Right, just to tidy up the back of this room, and the reason we have to do this is we have to show an existing and proposed when we do a planning application. Now, we use that window, so we alt click on that window once we've selected it, and there's going to be a window in the back wall which is 1630 wide. So we've got the window, see the window tool is there, and see the A dimension, we change that to 1630. 1630. Now on the end of the cursor, it means that the window is ready to place. Now from my survey notes, it says closes down it to that corner. So when you place it down, it places it down either by the corner or by the centre line. Now obviously in our case we want it to be at the corner, so it's on the corner, and we make sure it's on the right side, so we flip it to that side, and then we take it to the outside because that's where we want the wall, the window to be fitting into the wall. So we click on that, click on it again, and that puts the door in, sorry, the wall in. Now then, I'm gonna use this door down here. So I'm alt clicking on that door. To get to these parts of the drawing, I'm basically using my roller to roll it out and then roll back into where we want to be. There's a door in this position here, which is actually 880. So 880, as I say, we're going to add the frame onto these, so 880, so 980, and we can put that door in that position, and it's opening inwards in that direction, and it's not swinging that way, it's the hinges on that side. Right, okay, now if we pick up that wall, so it's alt click on that, and my dimensions are telling me is that we can just basically just to the side of that, it wants to be press the C again, just put it down, shift it, and we're on the wall tool anyway, so to the edge of that. Okay, now we need to put window in that wall and that wall. So let's open that window to see what it is. So that window, if we alt click on it, now that we've shifted it, and we press on that button there, it opens up the parameter box for this window too. Now what we want to see is the elevation. So that's the plan view of it, and if we press that, it gives us the elevational view. Now from my survey notes, are telling me that the height of the window is 1080 and to the sill from the floor is 1020. So the height of it there is 1080 and the sill is 1020. This tells me how it's set back from the wall, and that's right, that's correct, because we picked it up from another one anyway. The width of this is 1630, that's correct. So all we need to do is just basically put it back down on the drawing. Now then, now that we've got it in that position, it's the right height, we can utilise that to put it over here. But the width of this window is 1200. So 1200, and from the corner, it's 850. 850. So it's, I've only taken external ones here, so I'm going to have to. So I've selected that corner, X direction, 850 plus. Right. Okay. So again, we've got this window going in. Click on the outside, and that's correct. Right, this particular window here is a window and door. So we have actually got presets for these by using the parameter tool over here. You can make up as many different shapes as you like and then alt click on them and reuse them later. And that's just what we've done over here. You see there's some presets. So what we're going to do is that we're going to use this one here. So we'll alt click on it, and then we'll go back, shift, roll out and roll back in. Now we'll put this down by the middle, so that's middle there. And if we just basically put it in that position, and it is actually inward, but it's going in the wrong direction. So we'll shift click on it to select it, and what we want to do is reverse it to the other side. So we do this by mirroring it. So Control M gives us the mirror tool, and we're going to mirror it by its centre. Oops. I'll do that again. So select it again, Control M. Control M. Don't know why it's not doing this, but I'm going to come out of that, I'm going to delete it, I'm going to place it again, And this time I'm going to make sure I'm going in the right direction. So that's it. So I've selected it and I'm just dragging it over slightly so it's in the middle. Now it's not wide enough, but I do know from my survey notes that that door should be 880 and the overall width of it should be 2210. Now we can go in to this tool here. I've selected it. Now we're going into the parameters of the tool and we go to set out. We go to set out, doors, and that door should be 880, but remember we've got to have the frames on, so it's 980. Okay. Now we could change the side windows here to get them right, but we're not going to do that. There's a much quicker way of doing it. So we'll close this down by pressing OK. Now then, the overall width of the opening from there to there, we can make that bigger. The door will stay the right size as we put it in, and it will actually make the actual windows bigger. So we know that's going to be 2210. So if we go over to here and change that to 2210, see, it's grown bigger. Okie dokie. Right, so just click off that, and that's it. So we've virtually got the building in place there now. What we need to do is we need to pick up that door and put a door there. So it's all clicking on there, place the door, and it's actually opening with the hinge on that side. So look. With that being an external door, we shift click on it, it should be off the cavity which is in the middle of the wall, and to do that we offset it by using this tool over here, 110. You see it jumps into the middle of the wall, so that's correct now. Now something I haven't been doing, which I always tell everyone should do it, is to save it on a regular basis. The program does actually save it for you, you know, so if it does fail, if there's a glitch, you can get it back and it will actually rebuild itself, but it's always best to save it yourself. I have actually noticed that there's an opening missing, and what we're going to do is we're going to use the door tool, so we alt click on the door tool. So we've got that door on the end of the cursor, and we're going to basically place the door in that position. We're going to put it in that direction, but it's not actually a door, it's a window. Sorry, it's an opening. And the opening is ever so slightly wider than a normal door width, so we'll just drag that edge. As you can see from here, we're going to stretch it, pull it over slightly, and then go up to here, and that turns it into a door opening. So that now is correct. So as you come into the back of the property, you're going into a little ante-lobby which goes into the utility room and then into the kitchen. And then that kitchen feeds off to the dining room and the hall. Now we don't need to draw the hall or anything past this wall because planners aren't interested in that. Now the only thing we haven't done is that we haven't, well, what I'm going to do is, well, I'm not going to save it because it does take a while to save, and I could do with just showing you this first. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the marquee tool, and I'm going to marquee all the way around that. Now, when we do surveys, what we do is that we measure from the floor to the ceiling, and we assume that they've got a ceiling thickness or a first floor thickness of 200. So when we've measured, in this case, a ceiling height of 2320, it means that from ground floor to first floor including the thickness of the third floor, will be 2320 plus 200, which is 2520. Now, what we need to do is make sure that all these walls are 2320. And to do that, when I go to settings, story settings there, that's that icon, click on that, 2320. So we change that to 2520. Generally, the upstairs, the first floor level would be pretty much the same, so we'll change that again, 2520. And before we come out of this, we'll actually highlight the ground floor again and press OK. If we don't do that, we'll end up on the first floor on the play itself. Now that's changed the story heights within the model to that dimension, 2520. Okay. Now what we want to do is make these walls of that height. So we put a marquee around them and select the wall tool and press Ctrl A. It will select all the walls. Right. Generally we wouldn't increase the height of the boundary wall, so if we shift click on that, it will deselect it. But what we can do now is that we can actually make all these the correct height, and we do that by going over to this bar here. You see where it says height 2520 was the correct height. Now that's changed the height of all those walls to 2520. Now just for fun, we'll show you what we've created. Remember, we're not that bothered about the front edge of the drawing, but if I press F5 with the marquee around it, it gives us a 3D. Now it will actually bring it in, and if we press this fit to window button here, and then using the mouse button, the roller ball with my finger on it, and my finger on the shift key, I can turn it so it moves up and down, and I can swing it round. So to do this, I've got my mouse on the rollerball button, got my finger on the shift key, and I'm spinning it. So this, if you just press the mouse key, you get your hand, and that means you can pull it over. Shift key on means you can rotate it. As you can see, the important bit, which is what we're after, is the back of the building. So that's the extension that was built before. That's the kitchen window. That's the door into the side. These extra bits are just part of the default, which will be deleted later. So we know that it's working, and we know that that's okay. So this is I'm going to stop the video at this point. So before I do that, I'll click out of the 3D box into the ground floor box, or the quickest way is to basically press F2 and it takes you to that. Now then I'm going to press save. I can press that save button, or I can press Ctrl S. As you can see, it's got cribs on there, save, Ctrl S. If I press that, it's going to save it. Don't worry about the blinking in the background. It's to do with hotkeys and things that you'll learn about later. Anyway, this is the end of lesson 1.